This next block of training is fire safety and prevention. Basically, we have the same format. We have a short PowerPoint presentation, a handout. I'll take that handout back up and then I'll give you a competency evaluation. When we get done with the competency evaluation, you bring it up and I'll grade it. Just go back and have a seat at your desk. Please be considerate of your other fellow employees and be quiet while they finish up their test. Then we're going to roll into a bed bug presentation and a short conversation about eye wash stations and locations, and then I'm going to cut y'all loose for the day. Okay. Prior to coming to work here at Central State Hospital, I was employed by the State Fire Marshal's Office for 15 years. I worked for them doing plan reviews and code inspections, also doing training at our training facilities in Forsyth, Georgia, and also travel around the country auditing other fire marshal offices. All fire marshal offices in the United States of America have to participate in a federal program, so about every 2 to 3 months I used to go out. We're going to go through this fire safety and prevention PowerPoint presentation. Remember race during a fire. I truly believe that in new employee orientation we need to have an acronym class out here, okay, because we have a lot of acronyms that we use, race being one of them. One thing that I will tell you as a new employee, if you don't know what the acronym is that's being referenced to, then ask somebody a question. Don't just shake your head and say, yeah, I know what you're talking about, because you're going to hear a lot of different acronyms out here, okay? But RACE stands for rescue. We want you to rescue clients in immediate danger. We want you to alarm, which stands for yell out code red or fire. We want you to pull the fire alarm, okay? We want you to dial the emergency phone number, which is 5484. We want you to confine, close all doors and windows, and we want you to extinguish or extinguish small fires and evacuate clients if appropriate. Emergency evacuation or relocations means moving people who are in potential danger to areas of safety. You want to move all people from the fire area to at least one smoke zone, barrier, door to a safe area. Okay. Well, there are two types of evacuation. There's a horizontal evacuation and a vertical evacuation. A position of possible danger to a position of safety on the same floor level. So in theory, if this whole corner of this room is on fire, we want to make sure that the windows are closed. We're going to close the door behind us. We're going to initiate the race procedure. We're going to rescue any clients that may be in here. We're going to make sure all the staff are out. We're going to pull the fire alarm. We're going to initiate the code red announcement 3 times. Code red, Yarborough 2-073. Okay, we're going to announce that 3 times. If I feel comfortable in grabbing a fire extinguisher, I may grab a fire extinguisher and come here and actually extinguish the fire. But the thing is, on a horizontal evacuation, in theory, as long as we go through those double doors at the elevator, those are fire-rated doors. We can hang out on the south side of the hall over on the 2nd floor and be okay. And the firefighters can come in and do what they do. But here at Central State Hospital, we're always going to do a vertical evacuation in multi-level buildings, okay? Which means moving people from an area of danger on one floor of the building to a safe area on a lower floor or outside the building. We're going to go outside the building. If we have a real-time fire, everyone is going to go outside of the building. Smoke zones. Smoke zones are areas of a building that are separated from other areas. Smoke barriers and smoke doors slow the spread of smoke. Smoke barriers are walls that are built to slow the spread of smoke through the building. Let's just pretend like this is a smoke wall. This is a smoke rated wall where we have an audio visual and the conduit, where we have a thermostat and the conduit. Anywhere where that conduit, and it could be a water pipe, a large water main line, any type of conduit that houses electrical cables or data cables or anything like that. Where it passes through a smoke wall, we have to seal that. Plant operations does that for us, okay? They have that on a preventive maintenance schedule where they actually go up and they look at each one of the walls. They have to raise the ceiling tiles and they have to make sure that all the penetrations are sealed. And there's only 2 types of sealant that are approved by the National Fire Protection Association Life Safety Code 101. So we have to use one of those type of sealants. We can't just use a regular caulking or something like that. When the Joint Commission was here, I had to spend a day and a half with the Joint Commission surveyor, a life safety expert, and he went through, and that gentleman, I know he had to be tired of climbing up and down a ladder because he looked at every smoke wall that we have here on campus. And he was very impressed. He said, wow, I looked at every wall y'all have here. Typically, he's used to going into a hospital like the size of Oconee Regional or something like that, that may only have 4 or 5 smoke walls in the entire building. So he looked at all our walls. He only found one wall that had 3 penetrations, and he just praised how wonderful of a job we did here. Bless you. And then he proceeded to write us up for those 3 little penetrations that did not get sealed. Okay. We had to do something with that. We had to come up with a plan of corrective action. So what we did, what happened there is we had one of our vendors that had run some data cables and did not seal those holes that they made penetrations in that smoke wall. So what we do now is we issue a above ceiling work permit, and prior to us signing off on that work, one of plant operations engineers actually have to put their eyes on that work and make sure that everything's been sealed up. And that's how we manage that and prevent that same issue from reoccurring in the future. Smoke doors. It says smoke doors are doors of self-closing devices to prevent smoke from spreading from one section of a building to another. Typically, smoke doors are held open by magnetic chains or magnetic holders. And when that fire alarm is pulled, it actually breaks that magnetic seal, and those doors close. Okay? And there's requirements on those doors. They're double doors generally. And there's requirements. There's a requirement here at the meeting edges of the doors where the doors come together that you can only have an 1/8 of an inch gap there, which is about the size of 2 nickels together. And then you can only have a 3/4 inch gap at the bottom of those doors. That's something that we have to be very vigilant of. That's something that plant operations has on a preventive maintenance schedule where they're checking that every 30 days. We also have to work with our food service staff, our housekeeping staff, where they have carts going through the buildings and they're not ramming those type of doors and going into the doors. They have to back into them with their carts. Those doors are very expensive and they have to be able to close effectively because that is part of our building life safety features that we have in the buildings, okay, to protect us and the clients and everyone else against fire and smoke going through our buildings. The alarm process and reporting an emergency. We want you to call the fire department. Everyone knows 911 is universal, okay? 911 pound will get you police dispatch. On Central State Hospital grounds, we prefer that you dial 5484, okay? When you get your permanent ID, 5484 is on the back. So if you forget that number, it's right on the back of your ID. Also what MSDS stands for, and the race procedure is also on the back of your ID. We want you to give as much information as possible to the emergency dispatcher. We want you to pull the fire alarm, and we want you to announce code red on the PA system. Typically 24 pound puts you live all over the building on the overhead PA system. Back in July 2010, I'm sorry, that was prior to, this was December of 2009. We had a 2-day focus survey. The Department of Justice had requested several regulatory agencies that could come in and regulate us do so. So they came into the Powell building. I had to spend a day with a life safety expert. He went up to a charge nurse and said, let me see your pull station key. And bless this lady's heart, she had more keys than a jailer has on her. She started flipping through keys, and after about 2 minutes he said, thanks for playing. When you get to your unit, you will be given a simplex fire alarm key. All of our buildings have locked fire alarms because of the nature of the business that we do here. Okay, we can't have our clients pulling the fire alarm all the time. Okay, but you need to be able to readily identify that key. Do not be surprised if you have a surveyor, the state fire marshal. We have the state fire marshal come in quite regularly, and he may say, "Let me see your fire alarm key." You need to be able to show that key. Okay, we just started doing training with our seasoned staff again. We had to suspend our annual performance training that we did because we had a lot of Department of Justice training that we had to do with all of our staff, all of our seasoned staff here. So we just started about 2.5, 3 months ago, picking back up on our annual performance training. I was teaching a class yesterday afternoon, and one of the ladies said, "Oh, I don't have a fire alarm key," so I told her to get with her business manager. So we learned through that process that we've got to start doing some fire drills in our administrative buildings. Because she got her fire alarm key, and by God, she wanted to see if it worked or not. So she went to one of the fire alarms and turned it, and as soon as she turned it, it sounded. And it was in this building. And I come out of my office. Typically, whenever we have a fire drill, an announcement is made. This will be a code red drill. We make that announcement 3 times so everybody knows that it's a drill. We still want you to respond like it's a real-time situation, but it's only a drill. Well, no announcement was made over the PA system. So everybody, I come out of my office. I've got one of my direct reports is having a meeting in her office with her staff. And I walked down and I was like, well, what are y'all doing? Was this a fire or is this a drill? And I said, well, heck, I don't know. But get up and get out of the building. And then I come out to the elevators, and my offices are located on the south hall of the 3rd floor. And there's 12 people standing there waiting to get on the elevator. I said, y'all for real gonna get on the elevator? And they said, well, is it a real fire? And I said, I don't know. Did you hear an announcement? Everybody started going down the stairways. Our designated meeting location for our building is actually out in the north parking lot, which is out here on the side, this large parking lot. When I came outside the building, everybody's standing right out in front of the building saying, Mr. Archebelle, can we go back in yet? And I said, no, you cannot. You can go that way, okay? So we know that we've got to do some fire drills also in our administrative buildings. We have the Baldwin County Fire Rescue. They do all of our fire drills on our units, and we do a wonderful job in getting our clients out of the buildings. The first, we have to do total evacuation drills in our ICFMR buildings, which is the Allen building, the group homes, and the Bowling building. I have been consistently impressed with the direct care staff and how they assist the clients in getting them out in a very, very fast time. The first drill that I ever saw, an evacuation, a total evacuation drill, was in the Allen building. At the time, we were doing the renovations on the west side of the Allen building, and so we had all of the clients from the Allen building program and Phoenix Center program over on the east side of the Allen building. That day, all of the clients got out and were in their designated meeting locations with the head counts done and the accountability rosters filled out in 6 minutes. And that's egressing down 4 flights of stairs with clients that some of them get very agitated when those alarms are going off because they're very loud. And we even have a variance from the state fire marshal's office where we can lower those alarms, but they're still pretty loud. They're loud to me, so I can only imagine with some of the how bad that bothers them. Okay, but we've done a really good job with our fire drills, and you'll get to be a part of that in the very near future. Okay, we want you to contain, which means close all doors and windows and areas of the fire to contain the smoke and toxic fumes. Prior to going to work for the state fire marshal's office, I worked for 2 years as a firefighter. When I did that type of work, I had the unfortunate task of going into a couple of fully engulfed fires, structural fires, where we had some deaths in there, and I had to pull some deceased bodies out of there. Very unpleasant task, but I was very shocked that the bodies that I saw, it just looked like the people were asleep. You know, you think about when someone loses their life in a fire, that they're burned up. Typically, that does not happen. Normally, it's the smoke that kills you. All your building components, your wood, most of your wood, especially pressed wood, has formaldehyde in it. All of your window treatments, your drapes, upholstery in your chairs and sofas and everything else, they have some wicked gases that they emit when they're smoldering and burning. Okay, so it's typically not the you okay? You okay? It's typically not the fire that gets you, it is the smoke that gets you. Okay? And that's why we want you to contain by closing the doors and closing the windows. Extinguish the fire if it is small enough and you can ensure your own safety. Okay? Y'all aren't paid firefighters. We have our own fire department here on our campus. Our response time is typically 2 minutes of response time for them to be at the building, on site. Unless you live next door to a fire department in your community, I doubt very seriously that you're going to have a 2-minute response time to your home, okay? So let the experts do it. We want you to assess the situation. If you feel comfortable in grabbing a fire extinguisher and putting out a small fire, we want you to do that. If you don't, you do the race procedure, contain, and get on out of there, okay? Leave and exit the area of danger and go to a safe area and meet up with others in a designated meeting place. When you get to the Cook building, now the Cook building is a very secured building. If you're going to be working in the Cook building, you will find that out when you walk through the front doors and you go through the metal detectors, okay? And if you have any bags or anything, we got bag scanners, x-ray machines up there. It is a very secured building. But we do have a fire plan up there, and where everyone is supposed to egress out of that building. If you're in the administrative area, there's a certain procedure that you follow, and if you're in the secured part of the building, there's another procedure that you follow, okay? So please read your fire plan if you're going to be assigned to the Cook building. Know your routes of escape. We have evacuation maps. We paid a lot of money to have these evacuation maps done, okay? Read them. I tell seasoned staff this: if you've been here for 20 years, that's a wonderful thing. If you've gone in the same door for 20 years, that's a wonderful thing. But you better know at least 2 or 3 other ways to egress from your work area, okay? Because when there is a real-time fire, there is building separation, there is building failure. The door that you are accustomed to going into every day, it may not be there for you to go in and out of, okay? So please make sure that you know other ways to get out of the building. You're not expected to be a firefighter. That's what I said. We want you to assess the situation. Do not take unnecessary risk. On a small fire, you may be able to safely extinguish the flame. And we're going to teach you in a moment how to use the pass method to employ a fire extinguisher. Is it ready to use? We have 923 fire extinguishers on this campus. 627 of those fire extinguishers are this type of fire extinguisher right here, an ABC fire extinguisher, okay? ABC fire extinguisher can be used on an A, B, or C type class fire. We have 34 employees that are assigned the task of doing our monthly inspections on our fire extinguishers. So every month they get to go around, they get to look at them. You always want to make sure that your arrow is in the green, or the pressure. Okay, a CO2 extinguisher. This is a CO2 extinguisher. Now this extinguisher here weighs probably 35 pounds. The large ones are about 90 to 120 pounds. Okay, these are typically around computer rooms and that type of thing, because you use CO2 gas on energized electrical equipment. Okay, the extinguisher should have a current inspection tag. Typically that's a yellow tag. It'll also have a collar here with the hydrostatic test information on it. The pin and handle. This pin and handle should be secured, and they have a plastic tab seal there. But that seal will actually readily break as soon as you pull that tab. I mean the pin, all you got to do, and that tab will break. And the extinguisher and hose should be free of any visible damage. And that's what they have to do. And we have a requirement. We have a fire extinguisher checklist where they have to send to my office by the 15th of each month, stating that their fire extinguishers have been inspected. But we also have to be very vigilant, especially in some of our plant operations outbuildings, like our carpentry building, our plumbing building, and that type of thing, because dirt daubers and spiders and stuff love getting up in these things, and that will actually block your hose. Okay. What is a fire? A fire is a rapid chemical reaction, the self-sustaining process of rapid oxidation of a fuel which produces heat and light. A fire must have 3 things to ignite and maintain combustion. A fire must have fuel, heat, and keyword oxygen. Okay. When I give you the competency evaluation, there's some questions on there that I'm going to identify to you that you need to read very carefully. Okay. The competency evaluation is a true-false evaluation. Okay, it's either true or false. But some of the questions are worded. I say keyword, oxygen is a key word. On the test, if it says air or wind or whatever, that's not going to be the right answer. Okay, you want to see oxygen. The basic strategy of fire prevention is to control or isolate sources of fuel, heat, and oxygen in order to prevent combustion. Basically, if you remove one of those three key players from the equation, then you can no longer sustain a fire, okay? Let's talk about the classifications of fire extinguishers. A Class A, or ordinary combustible, and this includes fuels such as paper, wood, rubber, cloth. Okay, that's a Class A extinguisher. Class A extinguishers are typically used on something that's going to leave an ash. Any one of those sources of fuel right there, when it gets done burning, you're going to have some ash left behind. Okay, and this is a pressurized water extinguisher. All right, and that is a Class A extinguisher. Class A extinguishers can only be used on a Class A fire. That's all they can be used on. Okay, if you squirt this right here on a piece of energized electrical equipment, you have the very high potential of getting electrocuted. Okay. Class B are flammable and combustible liquids and gases. This includes all hydrocarbon and alcohol-based liquids and gases that will support combustion. A Class C or electrical. This includes all fires involving energized electrical equipment. ABC fire extinguisher, most common one in use at Central State Hospital. The ABC is the most commonly used fire extinguisher because it can be used on an A, B, or C type class fire. The ABC extinguisher smothers the fire with a dry chemical powder and cuts off the supply of oxygen to the fire. If you've ever powdered a little baby's bottom with some baby powder and you had some on your hands, you hit your hands together and that stuff got airborne and you suck some into your lungs, you about can't breathe for a few minutes. That's the same thing basically to what they have in an ABC type extinguisher. All right, let's talk about the pass method. We want you to pull the pin. Okay, so you're going to pull the pin, you're going to aim the hose or nozzle. Where are you going to aim at? At the base of the fire. Very good. So we're going to aim at the base of the fire. We're going to squeeze the lever. Okay. One of the questions on the competency evaluation talks about squeezing the nozzle. Boy, I'm all hooked up in here. If I squeeze, this is the nozzle. If I squeeze right here, what am I going to get? Not a bit. All right. So we want you to squeeze the lever and sweep the agent from side to side at the base of the fire. Any questions on employing the pass method? All right, so if you know where a fire extinguisher is located, are you always going to grab a fire extinguisher?
No, not
Exactly. Not always. What are you going to do? You're going to look at it. If you feel comfortable in using that fire extinguisher on that fire and the fire is small enough and you feel comfortable, we want you to use one, right? Mm-hmm. If not, what are you going to do? You're going to do the race procedures and let the experts come in and do it, okay? Any questions on the pass method? Okay, some general characteristics of fire extinguisher. That pressurized water extinguisher or Class A extinguisher will shoot about 30 to 40 feet and you got about 1 minute of pressurized water. The dry chemical is 5 to 20 feet and that's 8 to 25 seconds. And then we have the CO2 extinguisher. You got to be up close with the CO2 extinguisher. Okay, that's 3 to 8 feet and it's 8 to 30 seconds. All right, let's talk about fire safety in your work area. We're going to talk about compartmentalization, housekeeping, and some electrical safety issues. Buildings are designed to prevent fire, heat, and smoke from spreading beyond locations of origination. Building elements such as fire walls, fire dampers, and fire doors are designed to set off one location from the next. This system is called compartmentalization. Now we talked about, remember the fire-rated walls? We pretended like that was a fire-rated wall. We talked about the penetrations. We talked about the fire doors and the allowable gaps. Okay, let's talk about fire dampers for a minute. In an HVAC system or your air ducts where this cold air is blowing out and freezing everybody in here, there are smoke detectors or duct detectors inside of that system, okay? If they pick up any trace of smoke anywhere within this building, then it shuts these dampers, which are basically doors, and it shuts the HVAC system off. Now what does this do? This basically prevents, if we had a fire in the basement and we're on the second floor, if we didn't have that safety feature built into those ducts, in about 3 minutes, that smoke could be throughout this entire building. Okay, so that's the purpose of the fire dampers. So when you have the fire walls, the fire dampers, and the fire doors, that makes a compartment where it seals everything off, okay? Compartmentalization increases the safety of evacuating building occupants because smoke and fire are not able to escape in the exit passageways. Containment of fire and smoke reduces property damage and prevents small fires from going into large fires. In order for compartmentalization efforts to be effective, fire barriers must be maintained. That means you don't prop a fire door open. You don't take a chair and put it in front of a fire door and then there's a fire and that door cannot effectively close, okay? You just compromise the life safety building features. One of these exit doors, those are fire rated doors. You don't prop the exit doors open. Now sometimes we do if we're moving equipment or something like that, but as soon as we get that equipment moved, we don't leave it propped open all day, okay? And we'll also talk in a moment about what to use to prop doors open effectively. All right, let's talk about housekeeping guidelines. Work areas, aisles, walkways, stairways, and equipment should be kept clear of loose materials, trash, and scraps. Never block aisles, fire exits, emergency equipment, or alarm pull stations with equipment or materials. Avoid buildup of combustible trash and waste such as paper, wood, and cardboard. Keep use and storage of flammables and combustibles to a minimum. Clean up all spills such as grease, oil, or water immediately. A delay could result in an accident. Okay? Electrical issues. Electrical hazards are the cause of numerous workplace fires each year. Faulty electrical equipment or misuse of equipment produces heat and sparks that serve as ignition sources in the presence of flammable and combustible materials. Examples of common ignition hazards are overloading circuits, use of unapproved electrical devices, and damaged and worn wiring. Okay? Let me go ahead and mention one thing. For any one of y'all that will be working in an office setting, administrative area, you can have and I'm being gender specific here because since I've been here, I've not seen a little foot heater underneath any man's desk that works here. But I have found a lot of them under you ladies' desks. Y'all like to keep them toes all nice and toasty. And there's nothing wrong with that. The thing is, if you work in a client care building, you cannot have a space heater in that building. Okay? If you work in an administrative area, you can, but it has to be UL listed and it also has to have an automatic shut off feature. So if that thing were to get knocked over, then it will automatically shut off. Those are the only two. You've got to have both of those features to be able to have one. Extension cords. Extension cords only approved for temporary use. Instead of using extension cords, we want you to contact plant operations to install permanent wiring. When using extension cords, check for defaults such as frays, wilderness, or broken wires. Never place extension cords in high traffic areas where they can be damaged by being stepped on or run over by equipment. That's something else with our housekeeping staff. We have buffers, and generally the gentlemen or the gentlemen housekeepers are the ones that do most of our buffing for us. But we have to be very vigilant of those long cords that we have on there because we can trip somebody and that type of thing. Multi-plug strips or surge protectors should only be used for office equipment such as computers, printers, and fax machines. Other common items such as microwaves, refrigerators, and copy machines must be plugged directly into a wall outlet. Okay, this says this is a requirement of the state fire marshal. It is, but he's referencing the NFPA Life Safety Code 101. Basically, the reason why is because those type of appliances or machines, a microwave, a refrigerator, or a copy machine, all have an internal motor inside of them, okay? And as that motor cycles off and on, if it's plugged into a surge protector, it's not if a fire is going to happen, it's when a fire is going to happen. You also need to check at your house and see what you got plugged up around the house, okay? That causes a lot of fires every year. Any questions on the race procedure? Rescue, alarm, contain, extinguish, evacuate. How many types of evacuation are there? Two, horizontal and vertical. Any questions on the pass method? Any questions on any of the prevention tips that we talked about? Okay, there's race once again. You're going to see that a lot. We've got race posters all over the campus. There's one right there. Fire pre-plan, rescue, alarm, confine, extinguish. Okay. All staff need to know about the primary, secondary evacuation routes. Remember, as I said, when you get to your work unit, do a little bit of walkabout. You know, check it out. See where your pull stations are. See where your pull stations are. Check where your fire extinguishers are, and check and make sure you know at least 2 or 3 other ways out. I was telling you earlier about the keyed fire alarms that we have here. The auditorium and EWAC, those are considered to be general assembly occupancies by their certificate of occupancy that's issued by the state fire marshal's office. So they are not locked. Okay, all you have to do is go up and pull them. Everywhere else on our campus, you have to have a key to activate that pull station. Remember the location of fire alarm, pull station, alarm boxes, memorize emergency phone number, 911 pound, or what's the other one we want you to dial if you're on our campus? 5484, very good. Evacuation routes are not cluttered or obstructed. Door closures, check door closures to confirm they work correctly. Do not use wedges to hold fire or smoke doors open. Designated meeting location after an evacuation and never re-enter the building until the all clear is given. If we have any type of drill or we have any type of real-time incident with a code red, the only one that can release that building back to us is the shift commander for the fire department. Okay? I can't say, okay guys, y'all go on back in. The fire department has to tell me, Mr. Archebelle, that building is given back to you and you can let everybody back in. Now we're going to talk about something that's very near and dear to me because I am a firm believer that if you practice safe habits at home, you're going to be a lot safer here at work. Okay? How many of y'all have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews that come and hang out with you and might spend the night at your home? Okay? How many of y'all have ever practiced a fire drill at home? Wow, that's impressive. Normally I see like 2 hands. That's very good. I'll tell you what I do. I got an 18-year-old son that lives with me full time. I got a 10-year-old son and a 6-year-old little girl that I see every other weekend. Quarterly, we do a fire drill at my house. My 18-year-old thinks it's very uncool to do a fire drill every 3 months. He's like, Dad, yeah, he's like, Dad, I get it. I've been doing it for years. I know what to do. And I said, well, as long as you live here, you're going to stay on my program. Now, my little ones, they enjoy it. I actually live on campus. I live in a multi-level home on campus. My little girl's bedroom is like 16 feet above the grade of the landscape there. Okay, so if if there's a fire outside her room, then she's got to go out her window. Okay, so she knows how to let up her window. She knows how to throw out her rope ladder. And once every 3 months, she gets to climb down that rope ladder to her dad, and she thinks that's pretty neat. My son, who's 10, his bedroom's about 12 feet above. So he also knows how to employ that. But everyone in your family should know escape routes from every room in your home. Okay? To escape, they notify the fire department and call for help. Never open doors that are hot to the touch. How do you check to see if a door is hot to the touch? Back of your hand. Back of your hand. A lot more susceptible to detecting heat than with the palm of your hand. To stop, drop to the ground and roll if your clothes catch on fire. I don't do that anymore. I simulate that because I got a little too old. I'm afraid I might break something. Designated meeting place outside your home. Now I cook and heat with natural gas. Okay, if you have natural gas or propane that you cook or heat with, you need to make sure that you're designated because a lot of people use their mailbox. I can't really use my mailbox. I use my neighbor's mailbox because basically we're going to have an explosion if I have a fire in my home. Okay, that natural gas is probably going 9 times out of 10 is going to explode. That propane gas that's coming into your home is going to explode. Okay, so make sure that you're far enough away that you have a very good designated meeting location. Okay, if you cook or heat with propane or natural gas, make sure you have carbon monoxide detectors in your home. Okay, they're not real expensive. They're like $35 to $60 depending upon what type you buy, but they save lives. If you live in a multi-level home, make sure you have one on each level. Smoke alarms, smoke detectors, they save lives. 94% of the fire deaths that occur in America, and that's right in line with the Georgia statistics as well, are in homes that do not have working smoke alarms and smoke detectors. Most of that is preventable. You know, I think that everyone has the responsibility to try to take care of your family to the best of your ability. That's something that's not real expensive to do. Most of the counties in middle Georgia actually have federal funding with programs where they'll actually come and install smoke detectors in your home if you can't afford smoke detectors. Okay, so there's no reason not to have any. During the winter months, don't be using these kerosene heaters and stuff up in your house. Okay, that's an accident waiting to happen. Any questions, comments on the PowerPoint presentation? I want to ask you one more question. How many of y'all have ever designated a tornado shelter in your home or had a tornado drill? Very good. Very good. I'm impressed because most of the time only 1 or 2 hands go up. So that's good. If you haven't, let me tell you something. If you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, it sounds like there's a freight train outside your window, and you don't live near any railroad tracks, it's a little late in the day to be wondering where you're going. You in the good Lord hands at that time. Okay. And we always are in the good Lord hands. But anytime you can increase those chances, that's a good thing to do. I want you to be safe at home because I need you to be here to do what you were hired to do. Okay? So, and I truly believe that if you do practice safe habits at home, you're going to be a lot safer here. OSHA did a recent survey. Most of our workplace accidents happen 15 minutes, and this is right in line with the Department of Administrative Service data that I get on our workman's comp claims that we have here. Most of our accidents occur 15 minutes before break time and 15 minutes before people get off duty. And why is that? It is because of the fact that we lose focus of what we're doing. Okay, we lose focus of our task at hand. We're thinking Big Mac Whopper, and we're not paying attention to what we're doing. We're thinking, am I going off shopping at Belk's, JCPenney's has got a sale, or am I going to have a couple beers with the guys and go watch a football game? Okay, and we lose focus on our task at hand. All right. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I want to know what was the drill before the tornado. Like, where do you go?
Your designated tornado shelter should be on the lowest floor, and it should be on the most internal room that you have that does not have a door or window, an exterior door or window. So a closet, any type of closet. If you got a bathroom is the most ideal place to have it. At my house, I have a bathroom in the downstairs. There's no exterior door there. There is a window, but it's a very small window, and that's where me and my family go and hang out when we do a tornado drill. They actually have some really cool blankets out there now, tornado blankets that you can buy. You go online to different emergency sites, and they're a very thick blanket that, like, if someone's in the bathtub, you can put over you, and it'll prevent you, well, at least decrease the chances of you getting injured with something falling on your head. Okay. All right, if you would, take your handout. We're going to go over that right quick.